Hello and welcome. This is Brandon Smith live from the Forbidden Library, and today we're reading more stuff. We're reading more Pride and Prejudice. Hello, everyone. I know that my thumbnail and everything said I would have a special guest today, but they are currently not on Discord right now, and I have no idea why. I assume that maybe they forgot, maybe they've overslept, but currently I am without Callion, who was going to be, here's the name of my guest. Hopefully maybe he wakes up at some point and appears. But I was really excited because he wanted to collab with me on my reading streams, which is really cool. I wanted someone to do that with me for a bit. And he's a fellow writer as well. We've been chatting through the week and it's been good. So it's very exciting. Hopefully he appears. Maybe they were trolling. I don't know. Maybe. They had some really good story ideas for trolling. But anyway, it's fine. Maybe they'll turn up at some point. But hello everyone! Howdy if you're watching the VOD. I hope you have a wonderful day at uni. Maiden, have a lovely, lovely chill look. Have a wonderful evening. But hello Void! Hello Novel Science Fatum! Hello Luke! Hello Jake! Welcome to the stream. Hello, you've heard of Bridie Rose Smith. Now getting for Bridie Rose Smith plus mysterious guest who's so mysterious they're not even here. Hello, Sat-san. Yes. More reading away. I know. Howdy if you're watching the VOD. Are you in Texas? No, they put that message up that they were going to be in uni during the stream. So if they watch the VOD, I just thought I'd say hi anyway. Well, in that case, you've heard of Bridie Rose Smith. Now you get ready for Bridie Rose Smith. Yes, just me. Well, that's fine. Because we do have a little bit... Maybe they got time zones mixed up. Potentially. They're not that far away from me time zone-wise. So, potentially maybe they got it a little bit the other way around. That's okay. I have something that I wasn't sure I was going to be able to do if they were on anyways. So, let me... No, I got... What? So many things. Holy shit. I need to grab that and not show it. There's lots of things on that I should be showing. Hide that a minute. I need to get the right spreadsheet up before I can show you anything. Basically, I forgot last time, when it comes to the 100 books, there is one I can add right now. There we go. I can show you things now. There we go. Because we finished Higurashi Chapter 2, didn't we? And that definitely counts. That was big. You're not late, Lucas. Don't you worry. Visual novel. Read that one. And it is a series. And it is number 2-3. Give that a quick save. Yes. And then we can update my books until freedom. Yay. I need to rename things better. There we go. This one. So it's 7-7. Heck yeah. You're here for the collab. I'm sorry, Maiden. The collab might not be happening. They're not on Discord and I don't know why. It's fine. It's one of them things. Maybe I'm a troll. Maybe he's just having a day. I don't know. But it's fine. We can go on without him. Bruh. I know, bruh. I do have some other exciting news. You know, since we're reading this book. Oh shit. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Eye candy squish. I didn't have the right thing up. Let me just... I will trigger that head pat for you now. Don't you worry. I forgot I didn't have the right program open to do the thing. But yes. You've learned how to juggle. No. Talking about betrothals and things. So, you might have noticed I pushed today's stream back by half an hour. That's because yesterday I stopped dating my boyfriend. You know why? 'Cause now we're engaged, motherfuckers! Yes! I am a fiance now. I have upgraded from just girlfriend. I am now soon to be waifu. I am truly an upgrade. How's it going this afternoon? Wonderful! I got engaged! It's great. I'll trigger that head pat that you just you paid for. There you go. We triggered the thing. There we go. It works now. But yeah, who made the move? I wasn't allowed to. For the record, I had asked him a long time ago if I was allowed to do the proposal. I wasn't, so I had to wait for him to do it. But thank you, everyone. You finished your stream and you beat your mum in Super Smash Brothers. Nice. Oh, thank you. See, look. It's the book recommendation. It's working. Heck yeah. You asked me a lot. Well, yeah, I just wanted to know how you felt about it, you know, because everyone's got different feelings about that kind of thing. And I kind of made the joke of asking him, and he was like, I'd rather you didn't do that. I want to be the one to do it. So, oh, okay, I'll let you do that. That's okay. Oh, you rated me with 9 views? I didn't even spot the raid eye candy, so Jesus. But I am distracted for a good reason. You really gatekeeped that proposal. Yeah, I have a pretty ring now. And I'm sure I've been doing the family run today. Gone to see my parents, gone to see his parents, told all the family. Understandable distraction, frankly. So happy. Thank you. Thank you so much. Congratulations on your upgrade to waifu status. Hopefully eat your new noodles soon. Thank you so much for the dono. Donos will probably be helping towards wedding funds now. Hi, Jabba Hop. Hi, Sunny. Hi, Lucas. Hi, Candy Switch. I know you. I've already responded to you guys in chat, but I feel like I still want to say like hi personally. But yeah, that's why I'm late today. Oh, and Lucy is as well. Because we went. Wedding funds, is there a new service? Yes, I'm engaged now. My boyfriend proposed yesterday, and obviously I said yes. Now I have a lovely new ring. It's not on my model yet. I want to go draw it on my model. Unfortunately, my model is ringless right now, but I will get there. I will draw it on my model. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Its main stone is blue sandstone, also known as starstone. It looks like a starry sky. It's beautiful. I know, I'm gonna be an act. Do not stream the wedding. Oh, good God, no, I'm not streaming the wedding. Never. I will, like, tell you guys about it after the fact. I would never stream my wedding. God, no. You guys would see me IRL and it'd be awful. But yes, wedding funds. Can you imagine that? That would be the ultimate face reveal, wouldn't it? In the wedding dress. Oh yeah. But regardless of whether my collab partner awakens from their slumber, maybe they couldn't find their way into the library. Maybe that's what happened. Now I'm just interested in making you as popular as I can make you, while simultaneously trying to get people on your Patreon. By all means, Void. The more muns, the better. Though admittedly, I think we're both on the sort of terms of like spending most of the money on the honeymoon rather than the wedding. Probably do like a smallish wedding and then big honeymoon. Don't know where though. We haven't decided. I've only been engaged like 24 hours, so Kofi is better than Patreon is nice though for the monthly income. I suppose I should probably start offering similar rewards on Kofi subscriptions than I do Patreon, to be fair. There's a couple of you that are subscribed to Kofi and then don't really get anything, so you may not have a collab partner, but at least you have an IRL partner. I do! I even warned the collab partner about this because there was no way I was keeping silent about it because I'm far too excited! But, yeah. Still not here. Sounds like a good plan. Honeymoon always sounded more fun anyway. Why not spend more money? Exactly. Honeymoon in Blackpool. God, no! Definitely not. No pleasure beach for us. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's my exciting news for the day. Now for the rest of the day, we shall read once more. Cause Lizzie actually avoided proposals, did she not? She's managed to avoid Mr. Collins by fobbing her off on her friend Miss Lucas, which is awful for Miss Lucas, but Miss Lucas apparently isn't that pretty and doesn't have a chance in hell of getting anyone better, according to most people in this book. So this might be a good thing for her, sip sip. Me trying to pay a bunch of YouTuber subscriptions while also paying bills. Think the Spider-Man 2 train scene. Boy, do you look after yourself. I know I'm saying things like wedding funds and stuff, but honestly, you come first. People come first. So a stream, bridal shower, wedding, bride model, bachelorette. Recommend you play Wedding Island song by Hyante. It's a gentle melody, good for slow dancing. Aww. I believe in you, Lucas. You will. Anyone's better than Mr. Collins, Lucas. Anyone's better than Mr. Collins. And his mile-long speeches. Ugh. Again, one of the reasons I was looking forward to this collab, because then I could fob off all the big speeches on Callion. Hey, Brady, are you allowed to read comic books on the stream? I want to see you read the Reverse Flash origin story on stream. No, most likely I will run into the same kind of copyright issues with comic books as I would with books normally. So unfortunately not unless the publishers sort of went, oh, here you go. You guys know Bryony already has a flower on a ponytail. Yes, a white rose, which I imagine will feature in my future bouquet. But that is so long. Wedding Isles song by Hanty is on Newgrounds, if you have a problem finding it. Oh, wonderful. Maybe that's why they ditched. He got ditched. I'd mentioned that I had a boyfriend before. Maybe. Ditched me. They knew I was reading Pride and Prejudice. They'd agreed to this. Callion agreed to this. Even if publishers say yes, the Autobots still be meanies. Yes, they do. Got to be careful with these things. I like having written permission if I'm going to read something online. But this is free, so we're okay. Right, so what's Elizabeth up to? Now that her potential engagement has been thrown into the dumpster. And she's very relieved at it. But her mother was not very relieved at it. In fact, her mother threatened to never speak to her again. Oh my! So how's the fallout going to happen now? Elizabeth was sitting with her mother and sisters reflecting on what she had heard, and doubting whether she was authorised to mention it, when Sir William Lucas himself appeared, sent by his daughter to announce her engagement to the family. With many compliments to them and much self-gratulation on the prospect of a connection between the houses, he unfolded the matter to an audience not merely wondering, but incredulous for Mrs. Bennet, with more perseverance than politics, protested he must be entirely mistaken, and Lydia, always unguarded and often uncivil, boisterously exclaimed, "Good Lord, Sir William! How can you tell such a story? Do you not know that Mr. Collins wants to marry Lizzie? Oh my!" But do you know Reverse Flash storyline? He looks too relatable for this day and age in a bad way. I know of the Reverse Flash. I know it's normally not like the comics, but I did watch the CW TV show. And my boyfriend's told me bits and bobs about it. That Mr. Thorne just lives for the suffering of Barry Allen, and that is all. Will you read Berserk Golden Ship animation? Most likely not. Once more, I will probably not have the permissions to do so. I could read Berserk and do like video reactions of such things, but I wouldn't be able to read them online. You're cool and nice and funny and a good friend, and I'm happy for you. Thank you, Luke! All those things to you, and I'm happy for you existing, I guess. rather than happy for a particular event. So, also you. Well, Bryony started reading and an ad played exactly then. It's fine, the song has basic CC license. And you can ask it. Nice. All I know about Reverse Flash is that meme where he jokes Barry. I don't know that meme, and I don't know if I want to know that meme, honestly. Nothing less than the complacence of a courtier could have been borne without anger such treatment, but Sir William's good breeding carried him through it all. And though he begged leave to be positive as to the truth of his information, he listened to all of their impertinence with the most forbearing courtesy. Elizabeth, feeling it incumbent on her to relieve him from so unpleasant a situation, now put herself forward to confirm his account, by meaning her prior knowledge of it from Charlotte herself, and endeavoured to put a stop to the exclamations of her mother and sisters, by the earnestness of her congratulations to Sir William, in which she was readily joined by Jane, and by making a variety of remarks on the happiness that might be expected from the match, the excellent character of Mr. Collins, the worst character, Mr. Collins, and the convenient distance of Hudsford from London. Hello, Boris, welcome. Do you know any animators, Bryony? I want to try to make an animated intro for you. Well, did we not just have one in the chat a minute ago? Well, Golden Chip animation is in the chat. That's one. And then we've had Elfie the animator in the chat. I did that in my friend's Discord. I went like, oh, me and my boyfriend are dating anymore. And then I put a picture of the ring on, and I was like, now we're engaged. I'm engaged, Boris. My boyfriend proposed yesterday. I'll explain Reverse Flash can slow down time, and during Barry's date, he ruins it. You know that one time it was me, Barry, all along. My God, Thorn. He's petty bitch. Thank you. It's very exciting. The ring is very pretty. It was very unexpected. We talked about... I'm getting distracted again, but it's fine. We talked about it, like, months ago. Like, I think it was, like, start of this year more than anything. Because we were coming up to, like, our 10-year anniversary, and I was like, I'd like to be... maybe not married, but, like, proposed before then. And we didn't. And I was just like, well, maybe it's financial things, like, you know, I'm not going to pressure him or anything. And then we came home from a day out. Now you can introduce your fiancé as your ex-boyfriend, and that's exactly what I said. Almost, like, not long after the proposal, I was like, you're my ex-boyfriend now. I'm no longer anyone's girlfriend. I am a fiancé. And you are fiancé. He's my betrothed. But yeah, so we came home from a day out, and there was a delivery for him. A little delivery. And I was like, what is that? And he went and hid it. I was like, oh, it's a surprise for you. I can't tell you what it is. I was like, but that makes no sense. Because it wasn't their birthdays. It wasn't their Christmases. And I was like, what the fuck is it? I'm so confused. And then he ran upstairs and grabbed it. And he came downstairs and was like, do you want it now? I was like, I mean, if you got plans for it, we can stop. And then he got on one knee and I was like, ah! And it was crazy. Yeah, I've got so much feelings today. I didn't sleep last night. I just have so many feelings. So many. And they're mostly love. Love, shock, surprise, maybe a little fear, because that means now, like, a wedding is real. Spilling all the tea. I'm just excited. I just want to tell everyone. I've done it all today. Like, so we've done the rounds. We saw the parents, told the siblings, told the friends, I don't think that. Oh, I have missed someone. Actually, I'm gonna. 1 second. I haven't told some extended family. I just need to drop a message to them while I'm thinking about it. Oh, lordy. Good news. Hey, I just wanted to share some good news. My boyfriend proposed and send Vicky the ring and done. There we go. Extended family involved. I finished Kaguya-sama today, and your story is filling my empty romance heart right now. Wonderful. No, wait, like a year and just spring it randomly. Can't wait for 50k, 100k subs. I can't wait for that too. 100k especially, because then I get one of those nice shiny play buttons, and that would be wonderful. But yes, we were reading. I got distracted. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Oh yeah, Bryony, off topic. I've been meaning to ask, which is better in your opinion, Android or Apple? That depends what you want. I've personally always been an Android girly, but I am tracking down iPhones for the better face tracking. If you want, how about a raid swap? Hashtag Bryony wedding. Oh lordy. I mean, it's not gonna be wedding for a long time. Brandy, you should be like, I have good news and bad news. Bad news, I have no boyfriend anymore. Good news, I have a friend. That's, like I said, that's exactly what I did on my friend's Discord. I went, me and my boyfriend are no longer dating. And obviously they know we've been together a very long time. They were like, what the fuck? Apparently I gave my friend, like, so much whiplash with the conversation. How did they put it? You gave me a heart attack. It showed me the you and boyfriend are no longer dating bit in the preview, and I instantly panicked, thinking, how the fuck did that happen? Then I saw the rest of it, and God, I feel from whiplash. So yeah, I've already given my friends a heart attack over this for fun. I was shocked! Android better because the availability of applications are better, and the external buttons, yes. I was hella shocked. Like I said, we talked about it, and I was hoping for it, but I didn't expect it that particular day or anything. Like, there was nothing. We sat down and we had a cup of tea afterwards. I went out for a meal today. That's been our celebration. Oh, it gave me so much whiplash. J.K. Simmons wanted Oscar for it. Oh, yeah, we've been 20 minutes into this stream. I've only read like half a page because I've been so distracted. Honestly, this is kind of good timing for a collab to ghost me, so I can just blather to you about this for a while. Otherwise, we'd be so much more focused, and that would be fun. Anyway. Mrs. Bennet was, in fact, too much overpowered to say a great deal while Sir William remained. But no sooner had he left them than her feelings found a rapid vent. In the first place, she persisted in disbelieving the whole of the matter. Secondly, she was very sure that Mr. Collins had been taken in. Thirdly, she trusted that they would never be happy together. And fourthly, that though he begged to leave... No, next page, please. Leave the match might be broken off. Two inferences, however, were plainly deduced from the whole. One, that Elizabeth was the real cause of all the mischief, and the other, that she herself had been barbarously used by them all. And on these 2 points she principally dwelt the rest of the day. Nothing could console and nothing appease her, nor did that day wear out her resentment. A week elapsed before she could see Elizabeth without scolding her. A month passed away before she could speak to Sir William or Lady Lucas without being rude, and many months were gone before she could at all forgive their daughter. Yeah, I thought Mrs. Bennet was going to have a bad time with this. Your excitement is so wonderful to hear. It's great to share the good news. It is exciting! Ah! But you're going to have a lovely chill luck, Luke. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Collab intro. Hi, I'm Bridie. I'm a librarian trapped until she reads 10,000 books, and my current story is my wedding life. Yay me. Yeah, pretty much. That's been today's stream. I'm like I said, I'm kind of glad that my collab partner isn't around today, or at least has given me the chance at the start of this stream to gush, because it would have been a little bit awkward for him. Let's not lie. But that's okay. It's fortuitous. I hope he does appear either at some point this stream or maybe next week. But who knows? Until then, we continue to read. Read about a failed engagement. Well, it wasn't a failed engagement. It's just failed in the way Mrs. Bennet wanted it. We love girl talk in this household. We do! Spill the tea! Oh, now you can upgrade your model to have those anime hair vents that all the mums have. As long as I don't get the mum hairdo of doom. That was on my original design, you know. I was originally going to have the whole side ponytail of doom that many anime mums have. But I went with the ponytail instead. I thought Mrs. Bennet was going to have a bad time with this. Bronny's left eye for a split second turns glowy. Imagine if he shows up in the Minecraft stream. I mean, he could. Well, I don't think I haven't invited him to the Minecraft stream. I really wanted him in on the reading streams because I think it'd be more fun to have. I think it'd be fun to read it with someone else. I was serious, Bri, since the celebration. You would actually say it. See what? Boy, that made fun. Remember getting over it, Bri reading while the narrative random spoke. What are we up to? Mr. Bennet's emotions were much more tranquil on the occasion, and such as he did experience he pronounced to be of a most agreeable sort. For it gratified him, he said, to discover that Charlotte Lucas, whom he had been used to think tolerably sensible, was as foolish as his wife, and more foolish than his daughter. Reading a book together with your ex would be so romantic. Yeah, ex-boyfriend, current fiance. I want Brownie to have a mother haircut and be the stereotypical anime mother height and be like 3'5" or something. Yeah, I'm not that small. I'm not having a Minecraft wedding. Good God, no. No, he's still not interested in coming on stream or anything, so there would be no boy on the stream. No betrothed, no fiance on the stream. Except for me, I'm a fiance now. We're both fiancés now, technically. Like, there's no gender difference with fiance and fiancée or anything like that, which I think is fun. Jane confessed herself a little surprised at the match, but she said less of her astonishment than her earnest desire for their happiness, nor could Elizabeth persuade her to consider it as impossible. Kitty and Lydia were far from envying Miss Lucas, for Mr. Collins was only a clergyman, and it affected them in no other way than as a piece of news to spread at Merton. Yes, Lady Lucas. Yes. Ayo Lucas didn't know you were Pride and Prejudice count. There was Mr. Lucas not too long ago, Lady Lucas's father. Congrats on the new feature. Lady Lucas could not be insensible of triumph on being able to retort on Mrs. Bennet the comfort of having a daughter well married, and she called at Longbourn rather oftener than usual to say how happy she was. Okay, so Lady Lucas was coming in to rub it in Miss Bennet's face. Oh, my daughter is all married up now, only she's going to be happily married. Ha ha ha. Not interested, wanna join your Minecraft streams, but work keeps getting in the way. I still gotta be able to make money by doing absolutely nothing. Luigi strategy. I would love that. I wanna make money by doing nothing. That would be great. I just want people to pay for my lavish lifestyle. I don't want to do anything to earn it. That would be great. Sounds like you are just coming in to rub it into Mrs. Bennet's face. Though Mrs. Bennet's sour looks and ill-natured remarks might have been enough to drive happiness away, between Elizabeth and Charlotte there was a restraint which kept them mutually silent on the subject, and Elizabeth felt pressured that no real confidence could ever subside between them again. Her disappointment in Charlotte made her turn with fonder regard to her sister, of whose rectitude and delicacy she was sure her opinion could never be shaken, and for whose happiness she grew daily more anxious, as Bingley had now been gone a week, and nothing was heard of his return. Oh yes, because her sister got that letter from Bingley's sisters going like, oh, we're taking Mr. Bingley away and he's totally gonna marry Mr. Darcy's sister now. You were wonderful, but I don't like you anymore. Kinda like that. I would rub it in my best friend's face that I got a partner first, but he was faster. That would be the dream. Get paid for my modest lifestyle and then brag about it in front of Mrs. Bennet. Everyone needs to brag about their life in front of Mrs. Bennet. Hey, Mrs. Bennet, I'm betrothed too. Bryony, I just want people to pay for my lavish lifestyle. Void, I just want a company to unreliably set me for life. Yeah, it's the dream. Who cares? Capitalism means I have to work for my pay. That's shit. Jane had sent Caroline an early answer to her letter, and was counting the days till she might reasonably hope to hear again. The promised letter of thanks from Mr. Collins arrived on Tuesday, addressed to their father and written with all the solemnity of gratitude which a 12-month abode in the family might have prompted. After discharging his conscience on that head, he proceeded to inform them with many raptured expressions of his happiness in having obtained the affection of their admirable neighbour, Miss Lucas, and then explained that it was merely with the view of enjoying her society that he had been so ready to close with their kind wish of seeing him again at Longbourn, whither he hoped to be able to return on Monday fortnight. For Lady Catherine, he added, so heartily approved of his marriage, that she wished it to take place as soon as possible, which he trusted would be an unanswerable argument with his amiable Charlotte to name an early day for making him the happiest of men. Me, I just want my pizza rolls and to be done. Who doesn't want pizza rolls? I don't think I've ever had a pizza roll. They already sell them over here. What's the thing that means you get to sit down and eat grapes your servants give you while getting paid? A lavish life of luxury? Being a Greek emperor? I don't know. I can't remember if there's a specific word for that. Opulence, maybe. Opulence. Mr. Collins returned to Hertfordshire. No, where was that to? Yes. Mr. Collins returned into Hertfordshire was no longer a matter of pleasure to Mrs. Bennet. On the contrary, she was as much disposed to complain of it as her husband. It was very strange that he should come to Longbourn instead of the Lucas Lodge. It was also very inconvenient and exceedingly troublesome. She hated having visitors in the house while her health was so indifferent, and lovers were, of all people, the most disagreeable. She were the gentle murmurs of Mrs. Bennet. Such were the gentle murmurs of Mrs. Bennet, and they gave way only to the greater distress of Mr. Bingley's continued absence. Neither Jane nor Elizabeth were comfortable on this subject. Day after day passed without bringing any other tidings of him than the report which shortly prevailed in Meryton of his coming no more to Netherfield the whole winter, a report which highly incensed Mrs. Bennet, and which she never failed to contradict as a most scandalous falsehood. That's hedonism bought from Futurama. That's the one, hedonism. Caesar, that's just the Roman emperor. How's it, Time? Welcome. Even Elizabeth began to fear, not that Bingley was indifferent, but that his sisters would be successful in keeping him away. Unwilling as she was to admit an idea so destructive to Jane's happiness, and so dishonourable to the stability of her lover, she could not prevent its frequency reoccurring. The united effort of his two unfeeling sisters, and of his overpowering friend, assisted by the attractions of Miss Darcy, and the amusements of London, might be too much, she feared, as for the strength of his attachment. As for Jane, her anxiety under this suspense was, of course, more painful than Elizabeth's, but whatever she felt, she was desirous of concealing, and between herself and Elizabeth the subject was never alluded to. But as no such delicacy restrained her mother, an hour seldom passed in which she did not talk of Bingley. You upgraded to book one, Secret Time! Welcome! Now you have skills. Welcome. Congrats. Well, she did not talk of Mr. Bingley, express her impatience for his arrival, or even require Jane to confess that if he did not come back, she should think herself very ill-used. It needed all Jane's steady mildness to bear these attacks with tolerable tranquillity. Mr. Collins returned most punctually on the Monday fortnight, but his reception at Longbourn was not quite so gracious as it had been on his first introduction. He was too happy, however, to need much attention, and luckily for the others, the business of love-making relieved them from a great deal of his company. The chief of every day was spent by him at Lucas Lodge, and he sometimes returned to Longbourn only in time to make an apology for his absence before the family went to bed. Mr. Collins plays Fortnite. Who knew? I knew I didn't like him. Yes, he plays Fortnite, and he's rather verbose. So, yeah, don't like him at all. Whenever she spoke in a low voice, oh my. Mrs. Bennet was really in a most pitiable state. The very mention of anything concerning the match threw her into an agony of ill humour, and whenever she went, she was sure of hearing it talked of. The sight of Miss Lucas was odious to her, and her successor in that house. She regarded her with jealous abhorrence. Whenever Charlotte came to see them, she concluded her to be anticipating the hour of possession, and whenever she spoke in a low voice of Mr. Collins, was convinced that they were talking of the Longbourn estate, and resolving to turn herself and her daughters out of the house as soon as Mr. Bennet was dead. She complained bitterly of it all to her husband. He probably drives a Cybertruck in Fortnite too. Yeah, Mr. Collins seems like that kind of guy. Indeed, Mr. Bennet, said she, it is very hard to think that Charlotte Lucas should ever be mistress of this house. that I should be forced to make way for her. I live to see her take my place in it. My dear, do not give way to such gloomy thoughts. Let us hope for better things. Let us flatter ourselves that I may be the survivor. This must suck for Mr. Bennet. They're all talking about, like, when you die, sweetie. And he's like, bro, I'm still here. I'm still here. Can we not? This was not very consoling to Mrs. Bennet, and, therefore, instead of making any answer, she went on as before. I don't care, husband. I cannot bear to think that they should have all this estate, and if it was not for their entail, I should not mind it. What should you not mind? I should not mind anything at all. Let us be thankful that you are preserved of a state of insensibility. I never can be thankful, Mr. Bennet, for anything about the entail. How anyone could have the conscience to entail away an estate from one's own daughters I could not understand. And all for the sake of Mr. Collins too. Why should he have it more than anybody else? I leave it yourself to determine. I'm still alive, dies immediately. I'm not dead yet, folks. Hush, hush, Mr. Bennet. We're talking about your demise. My impression of the evil stepmother kind of works for a Cinderella story. Oh, we should definitely read some of the Grimm fairy tales at some point. The old shit. Yes, we talk among ourselves that we will get out of your inheritance. Yes, you don't say. It is very rude. I mean, I guess she's a bit afraid of it, because obviously women have a bit longer life expectancy than men, so she's likely to outlive her husband. That's just how it is. And if she does, she doesn't have rights to the property, and neither does any of her daughters, so it is a little bit scary. I get that for her, and that would have been sorted if Elizabeth married him. But she didn't, so yeah, that's how it be, I guess. But, you know, hopefully, you know, that she's just very nice to them. I mean, Charlotte Lucas is Lizzie's friend, so hopefully they're just, you can stay, sure. Oh my. Miss Bingley's letter arrived and put an end to doubt. The very first sentence conveyed the assurance of their being all settled in London for the winter, and concluded with her brother's regret as not having the time to pay his respects to his friends in Hertfordshire before he left the country. Country, yes, country, innit? Why do the Bennet women live longer? Meanwhile, Mr. Bennet drag racing in his Cybertruck. I know of a iconic to me family with one-winged golden eagle as their symbol, who talks about their grandfather in such a way. Hope was over, entirely over, and when Jane could attend to the rest of the letter, she found little except the professed affections of the winter that could give her any comfort. Miss Darcy's praise occupied the chief of it. Her many attractions were again dwelt on, and Caroline boasted joyfully of their increasing intimacy, and ventured to predict of the accomplishment of the wishes which had been unfolded in her former letter. She wrote also with great pleasure of her brother's being an inmate of Mr. Darcy's house, and mentioned with raptures some plans of the latter which regarded to new furniture. Oh my. I love when British accents sound so polite and calm, but straight up evil. Makes sense. I believe that's because every villain right now in 90% of TV series and movies are all blowing British right now. So we're the biggest evil in terms of stereotypical accents right now. Elizabeth, to whom Jane very soon communicated the chief of all this, heard in the silent indignation. Her heart was divided between concern for her sister and resentment against all others. To Caroline's assertion of her brothers being partial to Mrs. Darcy, she paid no credit. He was really fond of Jane. She doubted no more than she had ever done, and much as she had always been disposed to like him, she could not think without anger, hardly without contempt, on that earnestness of temper, that want of proper resolution, which now made him the slave of his designing friends, and led him to sacrifice his own happiness to the caprice of their inclinations. That or Scandinavian accents, yes, that too. Had his own happiness, however, been the only sacrifice, he might have been allowed to sport it with in whatever manner he thought best, but her sister's was involved in it, as she thought he must be sensible himself. It was a subject, in short, on which reflection could be long indulged, and must be unavailing. She could think of nothing else, and yet whether Mr. Bingley's regard had really died away, or were suppressed by his friend's interference, whether he had been aware of Jane's attachment, or whether it had escaped his observation, whichever were the case, though her opinion of him must be materially affected by the difference, her sister's situation remained the same, her peace equally wounded. Ah, Elizabeth's such a good sister. She's like, oh, sweetie, pretty sure the biggest evil looks over at a spiffing Brit. Nah, not as evil as I am. History would beg to differ. But yeah, so she's more mad at him for letting everyone else decide what he's doing. Aw, poor girl. A day or two passed before Jane had the courage to speak her feelings to Elizabeth, but at last, on Mrs. Bennet's leaving them together after a long irritation than usual about Netherfield and its master, she could not help saying, "Oh, that my dear mother had more command over herself! She could have no idea of the pain she gives me by her continual reflections on him. But I will not repine. It cannot last long. He will be forgot, and we shall all be as we were before." Elizabeth looked at her sister with incredulous solicitude, but said nothing. "You doubt me?" cried Jane, slightly colouring. "Indeed, you have no reason. He may live in my memory as the most amiable man of my acquaintance, but that is all. I have nothing either to hope or fear, and nothing to reproach him with. Thank God, I have not that pain. A little time, therefore, I shall certainly try to get the better." Aw, Jane's given up! Jane, no! He loves you! He's just a weakling with his friends and family. I can make noises in my hand. That's my ring. Anyway. With a stronger voice, she soon added, "I have this comfort immediately. That it has not been more than an error of fancy on my side, and that it has done no harm to anyone but myself." Oh, sweetie, don't give up! "My dear Jane," exclaimed Elizabeth, "you are too good. Your sweetness and disinterestedness are really angelic. I do not know what to say to you. I feel as if I had never done you justice, or loved you as you deserve." Order in the library, bangs engagement ring on desk. Miss Bennet eagerly disclaimed all extraordinary merit, and threw back the praise on her sister's warm affection. "Nay," said Elizabeth, "this is not fair. You wish to think all the world respectable, and are hurt if I speak ill of anybody. I only want to think you perfect, and you set yourself against it. Do not be afraid of my running into any excess, of my encroaching on your privilege of universal goodwill. You need not. There are few people whom I really love, and fewer still of whom I think. Well, the more I see of the world, the more I am dissatisfied with it, and every day confirms my belief of the inconsistency of all human characters, and of the little dependence that can be placed on the appearance of either merit or sense. I have met with 2 instances lately. One I will not mention. The other is Charlotte's marriage. It is unaccountable. In every view it is unaccountable. My dear Lizzie, do not give way to such feelings as these. They will ruin your happiness. You do not make allowances enough for differences of situation and temper. Consider Mr. Collins's respectability, and Charlotte's prudent, steady character. Remember that she is one of a large family, that has to fortune it is a most eligible match, and be ready to believe, for everybody's sake, that she may feel something like regard and esteem for our cousin. To oblige you, I would try to believe almost anything, but no one else could be benefited by such a belief as this. For were I persuaded that Charlotte had any regard for him, I should only think worse of her understanding that I now do of her heart. My dear Jane, Mr. Collins is a conceited, pompous, narrow-minded, silly man. You know he is, as well as I do, and you must feel, as well as I do, that the woman who marries him cannot have a proper way of thinking. You shall not defend her, though it is Charlotte Lucas. You shall not, for the sake of one individual, change the meaning of principle and integrity, nor endeavour to persuade yourself or me that selfishness is prudence, and insensibility of danger security for happiness. Oh my god. I've had this conversation before. I'm a really forgiving person. I try to justify a lot of things in the world that I don't need to justify. For example, me and the fiance, I get to say that. Anyway, we were driving and we saw a guy with basically like, it was really warm, to be fair. So we had a hat, and it was a hat that had like cloth that comes down and covers your head as well. It wasn't like a turban or anything. It was more like you'd see like desert commandos wearing. And he was like, it's not a desert, you shouldn't be wearing that. And I was like, but what if he's got sensitive ears? What if he sunburns real bad? And my boyfriend, not boyfriend, fiance was like, or he's just wearing it for a fashion statement and looking silly. And I'm like, I suppose that's the way. I try to justify things. I always try like give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Like if someone's being an arse on the road, I normally go, oh, they must be tired. Or, oh, they didn't see me. Oh well, no one's died, it's fine. They must be tired. Oh, they're on their way home. I get that. Mood. Yeah, what if he's Irish? I don't know. It's fine. I forget that you're very forgiving sometimes. I am. I can be spiteful at times, but 9 times out of 10, I try to give most people the benefit of the doubt. To be fair, there's no reason not to wear the practical TM. That it's a fashion statement. And it looked like it was a very, very warm road. Warm day. And if anything, that was a very impractical fashion to wear, if that was the case. If that was actually fashion, that was incredibly impractical. If it was to protect his neck and ears from sunburn, you know what? That's fine. But it was questionable fashion, that's for sure. If they're cussing you out on the road, oh, they must have had a long day at work. I've never had that vibe. We don't really tend to roll down our windows and cuss at each other in the UK. We just honk our horns and glare at each other. Maybe we do rude. Oh, my lights got turned on. Thank you. Maybe we throw rude hand signs at each other, but that's as far as it goes. normally. Unless you're actually, like, going into someone, then might be cussing and insurance. Vomit. Same in the US, except you have guns. You're throwing the rude pistol sign at each other. Oh, lordy. Yeah, it's a little bit more scary in the US, really. Like, I don't think I'd want to randomly piss off a driver if they're just going to pull a gun at me. You know what really is mean? Thumbs down and a look of disappointment. Oh god, yes, that's the worst. Wait, Brian knows how to fight? Oh, how to fight. Rude hand signs. Does a bunch of ninjutsu signs. Shadow clone jutsu. Now that is just fucking rude. Get your Naruto shit out of here. That's just fucking rude. Wait till I get 3D, then I can do rude hand signs. 18 more subs, bro. 18. Average commute from work is basically a game of Twisted Metal. I must think your language is too strong in speaking of both, replied Jane. And I hope you will be convinced of it by seeing them happy together. But enough of this. You alluded to something else. You mentioned 2 instances. I cannot misunderstand you. But I entreat you, dear Lizzie, not to pain me by thinking that person to blame, and saying your opinion of him sunk. We must not be so ready to fancy ourselves intentionally injured. We must not expect a lively young man to be always so guarded and circumspect. It is very often nothing but our own vanity that deceives us. Women fancy admiration means more than it does. Do you know any martial arts? What about Batsu? I don't know any martial arts. I took a few lessons in Taekwondo when I was younger. No, I say a few lessons. I took one. I disliked it. I never went back again. So no, I have been taught how to throw a punch for self-preservation purposes, and that is all. Don't look at the other drivers and their hand signs cannot affect you. Yes! But also you kind of want to, because you kind of want to throw your own hand sign. Nah, you just want a dick and move on. That's basically the way to deal with it. Bell end. Knob jockey. Silly bitch. Many, many wonderful words to just mutter to yourself and then move on. And men take care that they should. If it is designedly done, they cannot be justified, but I have no idea of there being so much design in the world as some persons imagine. I am far from attributing any part of Mr. Bingley's conduct to design, said Elizabeth, but without scheming or to do wrong, or to make others unhappy, there may be error, and there may be misery, thoughtlessness, want of attention to other people's feelings, and want of resolution will do the business. And do you impute it to either of those? Yes, to the last. But if I go on, I shall displease you by saying what I think of persons you esteem. Stop me whilst you can. You persist, then, in supporting his sister's influencing him? Yes, in conjunction with his friend. I cannot believe it. Why should they try to influence him? They can only wish his happiness, and if he is attached to me, no other woman can secure it. Your first position is false. They may wish many things besides his happiness. They may wish his increase of wealth, and consequence they may wish him to marry a girl who has all the importance of money, great connections, and pride. My mum tried to force me to learn Krav Maga because it's real fighting, and not a martial art because martial arts aren't practical. Also, Dreda would still confidently beat me up as a black belt, so Dreda can confidently beat up most people, so it's fine. Everyone's in that boat. Beyond a doubt, they do wish him to choose Miss Darcy, replied Jane, but this may be from better feelings than you are supposing. They have known her for much longer than they have known me. No wonder they love her better. But, whatever may be their own wishes, it is very unlikely that they should have opposed their brothers. What sister would think herself at liberty to do it, unless there was something very objectionable? If they believe him attached to me, they would not try to part us. If he were so, they would not succeed. By supposing such affection, you make everybody acting unnaturally and wrong, and me most unhappy. Do not distress me by the idea. I am not ashamed of having been mistaken, or, at least, it is nothing in comparison of what I should feel in thinking ill of him or his sisters. Let me take it in the best light, in the light in which it may be understood. Aw, Jane is too sweet. Too sweet. Easy, just call in an artillery strike on your location for self-defense and let RG sort it out. Maybe. Elizabeth could not oppose such a wish, and from this time Mr. Bingley's name was scarcely ever mentioned between them. Mrs. Bennet still continued to wonder and repine at his returning no more, and though a day seldom passed in which Elizabeth did not account for it clearly, there seemed little chance of her ever considering it with less perplexity. Her daughter endeavoured to convince her of what she did not believe herself, that his attentions to Jane had been merely the effect of a common and transient liking, which ceased when he saw her no more. But though the probability of the statement was admitted at the time, she had the same story to repeat every day. Mrs. Bennet's best comfort was that Mr. Bingley must be down again in the summer. Hold on, Void. During Krav Maga, did you get hurt? Pain? Bleed? Sonny needs the details. Mr. Bennet treated the matter differently. So, Lizzie, said he one day, your sister is crossed in love, I find. I congratulate her. Next to being married, a girl likes to be crossed in love a little now and then. It is something to think of, and gives her a sort of distinction among her companions. When is your turn to come? You shall hardly bear to be long outdone by Jane. Now is your time. Here are officers enough at Merton to disappoint all the ladies in the country. Let Wickham be your man. He is a pleasant fellow, and would jilt you credibly. Thank you, sir, but a less agreeable man would satisfy me. We must not all expect Jane's good fortune. True, said Mr. Bennet, but it is a comfort to think that, whatever of that kind may befall you, you have an affectionate mother who will always make the most of it. Mr. Wickham's society was of material service in dispelling the gloom which the late perverse occurrences had thrown on many of the Longbourn family. They saw him often. Oh, wait 1 second. Oh crap, I forgot to tell my granddad. I need to make sure to remember to respond to that after stream, but it can wait. It's fine. It's fine. I would have told him in the morning when I went to go see my parents, because he lives with my parents, but he was asleep. so I can tell him. Anyway. They saw him often, and to his other recommendations was now added to that of general unreserve. The whole of what Elizabeth had already heard was claims on Mr. Darcy, and all that he had suffered from him, and now openly acknowledged and publicly canvassed that, and everybody was pleased to think how much they had always disliked Mr. Darcy, before they had known anything of the matter. Wait, what? Did you forget to inform your grandparents? Just one grandparent. Just one grandparent. I forgot. One grandparent. Wait, I don't talk to my grandparents too much, you see. We have minimal of a relationship, shall we say. So that they're a little easily forgotten in the grand scheme of things. I just remember not wanting to be there and getting too angry at the trainer and getting banned. Avoid your mum took you to a martial arts class. And he got banned for being too angry. Fat. For then dislike the matter. Miss Bennet was the only creature whom could suppose there might be any extenuating circumstances in the case unknown of the society of Hertfordshire. Her mild and steady candour always pleaded for allowances, and urged the possibility of mistakes, but, by everybody else, Mr. Darcy was condemned as the worst of men. Chapter 25. After a week spent in professions of love and schemes of felicity, Mr. Collins was called from his amiable Charlotte by the arrival of Saturday. The pain of separation, however, might be alleviated on his side by preparations for the reception of his bride, as he had reason to hope that shortly after his return into Hertfordshire the day would be fixed that was to make him the happiest of men. I really like that. It's like, the day would be fixed to make him the happiest of men. As much as I hate Mr. Collins, I love that description of a wedding day. He took leave of his relations at Longbourn with as much solemnity as before, wished his fair cousins health and happiness again, and promised their father another letter of thanks. On the following Monday, Mrs. Bennet had the pleasure of receiving her brother and his wife, who came as usual to spend the Christmas at Longbourn. Mr. Gardiner was a sensible, gentlemanly-like man, gently superior to his sister, as well by nature as education. The Netherfield ladies would have had difficulty in believing that a man who lived by trade, and within view of his own warehouses, could have been so well bred and agreeable. Mrs. Gardiner, who was several years younger than Mrs. Bennet and Mrs. Phillips, was an amiable, intelligent, elegant woman, and a great favourite with her Longbourn nieces. Between the two eldest, and herself especially, there was a very particular regard. They had frequently been staying with her in town. Grandparent: so you came on the day of my daughter's wedding? Boyfriend: yes, because I'm marrying her. Bryce: stop them. Grandma: sweet child, fight me, Mom. Ah! I wish it was that entertaining. At first part, Mrs. Gardiner's business on her arrival was to distribute her presents and describe the newest fashions. When this was done, she had a less active part to play. It became her turn to listen. Mrs. Bennet had many grievances to relate, and much to complain of. They had all been very ill-used since she last saw her sister. 2 of her girls had been on the point of marriage, and, after all, there was nothing in it. I do not blame Jane, she continued, for Jane would have got Mr. Bingley if she could, but Lizzie! Oh, sister! It is very hard to think that she might have been Mr. Collins's wife by this time, had it not been for her own perverseness. He had made her an offer in this very room, and she refused it. The consequence of it is that Lady Lucas will have a daughter married before I have, and that Longbourn estate is just as much entailed as ever. The Lucases are very artful people indeed, sister. They are all for what they can get. I am sorry to say of them, but it is so. It makes me very nervous and poorly to be thwarted in my own family, and to have neighbours who think of themselves before anybody else. However, your coming just at this time is the greatest of comforts, and I am very glad to hear what you tell us of long sleeves. Tell me of long sleeves, sisters. Tell me of long sleeves. The person logistics, and people assume logistics is not a refined taste. Mrs. Gardiner, to whom the chief of this news had been given before, in the course of Jane and Elizabeth's correspondence with her, made her sister a slight answer, and in compassion to her nieces, turned the conversation. When alone with Elizabeth afterwards, she spoke more on the subject. It seems likely to have been a desirable match for Jane, she said. I am sorry it went off, but these things happen so often. A young man, such as you describe Mr. Bingley, so easily falls in love with a pretty girl for a few weeks, and when accident separates them, so easily forgets her, that these sort of inconsistencies are very frequent. Offended 2 or 3 young ladies. Oh my, offended. An excellent consolation in its way, said Elizabeth, but it will not do for us. We do not suffer by accident. It does not often happen that the interference of friends will persuade a young man of independent fortune to think no more of a girl whom he was so violently in love with only a few days before. But that expression of violently in love is so hackneyed, so doubtful, so indefinite, that it gives me very little idea. It is as often applied to feelings which arise only from half an hour's acquaintance, as to a real strong attachment. Pray, how violent was Mr. Bingley's love? They called him out so hard as flimsy in his fashions. Yeah. I never saw a more promising inclination. He was growing quite inattentive to other people, and wholly engrossed by her. Every time they met, it was more decided and remarkable. At his own ball, he offered 2 or 3 young ladies by not asking them. He offended 2 or 3 young ladies by not asking them to dance, and I spoke to him twice myself without receiving an answer. Could there be finer symptoms? Is not general incivility the very essence of love? Oh, yes, of that kind of love I suppose him to have felt. Poor Jane! I am sorry for her, because with her disposition she may not get over it immediately. It had better have happened to you, Lizzie. Lizzie, you would have laughed yourself out of it sooner. But do you think she would be prevailed on to go back with us? Change of scene might be of service, and perhaps a little relief from home may be useful as anything. Oh my God, yes, she needs that. She needs to get away from her mother. I took a nap today and I'm still tired. Because I've had too many feelings. Oh, sit down. Sit on bench. Oh, that's a wonderful name. Thank you for the follow and getting me to 90 followers on Twitch. Heck yeah! Look at us. We're only 10 off 3 digits on Twitch. How bonkers is that? We haven't been on Twitch that long. And here we are. Wild. Wild, wild, wild. Elizabeth was exceedingly pleased with this proposal, and felt persuaded of her sister's ready acquiesced to their request. That word, but that. I hope, added Miss Gardner, that no consideration with regard to this young man will influence her. We live in so different a part of town. All our connections are so different, and, as you well know, we go out little. That is very improbable they should meet at all, unless he really comes to see her. And that is quite impossible, for he is now in the custody of his friend, and Mr. Darcy would no more suffer him to call on Jane in such a part of London. My dear aunt, how could you think of it? Mr. Darcy may perhaps have heard of such a place as Gracechurch Street, but he would hardly think a month's absolution enough to cleanse him from his impurities, were he once to enter it, and depend upon it, Mr. Bingley never stirs without him. She's an orange belting crab, so is my stepfather. I will not pick a fight with either of them, despite their poor health. So yeah, goddamn, you come from a tough family by the sounds of it. So much better. I hope they will not meet at all. But does not Jane correspond with his sister? She will not be able to help calling. She will drop the acquaintance entirely. But in spite of the certainty in which Elizabeth affected to place this point, as well as the still more interesting one of Bingley's being withheld from seeing Jane, she felt a solitude on the subject which convinced her on examination that she did not consider it entirely hopeless. It was possible, and sometimes she thought it probable, that his affection might reanimate, and the influence of his friends successfully combated by the more natural influence of Jane's attractions. Miss Bennet accepted her aunt's invitation with pleasure, and the Bingleys were no otherwise in her thoughts at the same time than she hoped. By Caroline's not living in the same house with her brother, she might occasionally spend a morning with her, without any danger of seeing him. The Gardners stayed a week at Longbourn, and what with the Phillipses, the Lucases, and the officers there, was not a day without its engagement. Mrs. Bennet had so carefully provided for the entertainment of her brother and sister that they did not once sit down to a family dinner. When the engagement was for home, some of the officers always made part of it, of which officers Mr. Wickham was sure to be one, and on these occasions Mrs. Gardner rendered suspicions by Elizabeth's warm commendation of him, narrowly observed them both, without supposing them, from what she saw, to be very seriously in love. Their preference of each other was plain enough to make her a little uneasy, and she resolved to speak to Elizabeth on the subject before she left Hertfordshire, and represent to her the imprudence of encouraging such an attachment. To Mrs. Gardner, Wickham had one means of affording pleasure, unconnected with his general powers. About 10 or a dozen years ago, before her marriage, she had spent a considerable time in that very part of Derbyshire to which he belonged. They had, therefore, many acquaintance in common, and though Wickham had been little there since the death of Darcy's father 5 years before, it was yet in his power to give her fresher intelligence on her former friends than she had been the way of procuring. Oh, she's got some tea on Mr. Wickham. Mrs. Gardiner had seen Pemberley, and known the late Mr. Darcy by character perfectly well. Here, consequently, was an inexhaustible subject of discourse, in comparing her recollections of Pemberley with the miniature description which Miss Wickham could give, and in bestowing her tribute of praise on the character of his late possessor, she was delighting both him and herself. On being made acquainted with the presence Mr. Darcy's treatment of him, she tried to remember something of that gentleman's reputed disposition, when quite a lad, which might agree with it, and was confident, at last, that she recollected having heard Mr. Fitzwilliam Darcy's formerly spoken of as very proud, ill-natured boy. Chapter 26. Mrs. Gardiner's caution to Elizabeth was punctually and kindly given on the first favourable opportunity of speaking to her alone. After honestly telling her what she thought, she thus went on. "You are too sensible a girl, Lizzie, to fall in love, merely because you are warned against it, and therefore I am not afraid of speaking openly. Seriously, I would have you be on guard. Do not involve yourself, or endeavour to involve him, in an affection which the want of fortune would make you so very imprudent. I have nothing to say against him. He is a most interesting young man, and if he had the fortune he ought to have, I should think that you could not do better. But as it is, you must not let your fancy run away with you. You have sense, and we all expect you to use it. Your father would depend on your resolution and good conduct, I am sure. You must not disappoint your father." So she's like, well, he's nice, but he hasn't got a penny to his name, my dear niece. You need to pick better. And this is back in the day where women didn't really have much of a choice in that matter. "My dear aunt, this is being serious indeed." "Yes, and I hope to engage you to be serious likewise." "Well then, you need not be under any alarm. I will take care of myself, and of Mr. Wickham too. He shall not be in love with me if I can prevent it." "Elizabeth, you are not serious now." "I beg your pardon, I will try again. At present I am not in love with Mr. Wickham. No, I certainly am not. But he is, beyond all comparison, the most agreeable man I ever saw. And if he becomes really attached to me, I believe it will be better that he should not. I see the imprudence of it. Oh, that abominable Mr. Darcy! My father's opinion of me does me the greatest honour, and I should be miserable to forfeit it. My father, however, is partial to Mr. Wickham. In short, my dear aunt, I should be very sorry to be the means of making any of you unhappy. But since we see every day that where there is affection, young people are seldom withheld by immediate want of fortune from entering into engagements with each other, how can I promise to be wiser than so many of my fellow creatures, if I am tempted? Or how am I even to know that it would be wiser to resist? All that I promise you, therefore, is not to be in a hurry. I will not be in a hurry to believe myself his first object. When I am in company with him, I will not be wishing. In short, I will do my best." But she's like, "I understand you, dear auntie, and I do not want to let anyone down. However, I feel like I may be growing feelings, but I will be doing my best to not grow feelings, okay? But feelings are feelings, and I can't help it." Oh, Lizzie. Perhaps it will be as well if you discourage his coming here so very often. At least you should not remind your mother of inviting him." "As I did the other day," said Elizabeth with a conscious smile. "Very true, it will be wise of me to refrain from that. But do not imagine that he is always here so often. It is on your account that he has been so frequently invited this week, and know my mother's ideas as to the necessity of constant company for her friends. But really, and upon my honour, I will try to do what I think to be wisest, and now I hope you are satisfied." "I will be doing my best not to grow feelings, but hey, you know schoolwork first, that's how feelings work." I feel like I'm being called out. "Doing my best not to grow feelings, but hey, you know schoolwork first, that's how feelings work." That's totally how feelings work. How dare you call me out like this? Shut. Her aunt assured her that she was, and Elizabeth, having thanked her for her kindness of her hints, they parted. A wonderful instance of advice being given on such. There's definitely a jab at you. I know. I got my own reference. A wonderful instance of advice being given on such a point without being resented. Mr. Collins returned to Hertfordshire soon after it had been quitted by the Gardiners and Jane. But, so Jane did go with them. Oh, God. I'm glad she did. She deserves it. She deserves a holiday. A jolly, jolly holiday. But as he took up his abode with the Lucases, his arrival was no great inconvenience to Mrs. Bennet. His marriage was now fast approaching, and she was at length so far resigned as to think it inevitable, and even repeatedly to say, in an ill-natured tone, that she wished they might be happy. Sarcasm's better than nothing, I guess. Well done, Mrs. Bennet. Thursday was to be the wedding day, and on Wednesday Miss Lucas paid her farewell visit, and when she rose to take leave, Elizabeth, ashamed of her mother's ungracious and reluctant good wishes, and sincerely affected herself, accompanied her out of the room. As they went down the stairs together, Charlotte said, "I shall depend on hearing from you very often, Eliza." "That you certainly shall." "And I have another favour to ask. Will you come and see me? We shall often meet, I hope, in Hertfordshire. I am not likely to leave Kent for some time. Promise me, therefore, to come to Hunsford." Elizabeth could not refuse, though she foresaw little pleasure in the visit. "My father and Maria are to come to me in March," added Charlotte, "and I hope you will consent to be one of the party. Indeed, Eliza, you will be as welcome to me as either of them." I'm glad they can keep their friendship after this. The wedding took place, the bride and groomsmen set off for Kent from the church door, and everybody had as much to say or to hear on the subject as usual. Elizabeth soon heard from her friend, and their correspondence was regular and frequent, as it ever had been. Glaff, she called her a Kent. A Clark Kent. Nah, just a Kent. Just a Kent. That it should be equally unreserved was impossible. Elizabeth could never address her without feeling that all the comfort of intimacy was over, and though determined not to slacken as a correspondent, it was for the sake of what had been, rather than what was. Oh, that's sad. That's sad. I was going to say, oh, glad they stay friends, but it's not the same. It's not the same. It's not quite a betrayal either, because Elizabeth never wanted Mr. Collins, but She can't see her friend in the same light anymore, which is really sad. Charlotte's first letters were received with a good deal of eagerness. There could not but be curiosity to know how she would speak of her new home, how she would like Lady Catherine, and how happy she would dare pronounce herself to be, though when the letters read, Elizabeth felt that Charlotte expressed herself on every point exactly as she might have foreseen. She wrote cheerfully, seemed surrounded with comforts, and mentioned nothing which she could not praise. The house, furniture, neighbourhood, and roads were all to her taste, and Lady Catherine's behaviour was most friendly and obliging. It was Mr. Collins's picture of Hunsford and Rossings rationally softened, and Elizabeth perceived that she must wait for her own visit there to know the rest. Jane had already written a few lines to her sister to announce their safe arrival in London, and when she wrote again, Elizabeth hoped that it would be in her power to say something of the Bingleys. Her impatience for this second letter was as well rewarded as impatience generally is. Jane had been a week in town without either seeing or hearing from Caroline. She accounted for it, however, by supposing that her last letter from her friend from Longbourn had by some accident been lost. My aunt, she continued, is going tomorrow into that part of town, and I shall take the opportunity of calling in Grosvenor Street. She wrote again, then the visit was paid, and she had seen Miss Bingley. I did not think Caroline in spirits were her words, but she was very glad to see me, and reproached me for giving her no notice of my coming to London. I was right, therefore. My last letter had never reached her. I inquired after their brother, of course. He was well, but so much engaged with Mr. Darcy that they scarcely ever saw him. I found that Miss Darcy was expected to dinner. I wish I could see her. My visit was not long, as Caroline and Mrs. Hurst were going out. I dare say I shall soon see them here. Elizabeth shook her head over this letter. It convinced her that accident could only discover to Mr. Bingley's her sister's being in town. 4 weeks passed away, and Jane saw nothing of him. She endeavoured to persuade herself that she did not regret it, but she could no longer be blind to Miss Bingley's inattention. After waiting at home every morning for a fortnight, inventing every evening fresh excuse for her, the visitor did at last appear, but the shortness of her stay, and yet more the alteration of her manner, would allow Jane to deceive herself no longer. The letter which she wrote on this occasion to her sister will prove what she felt. My dearest Lizzie will, I am sure, be incapable of trumpeting in her better judgment at my expense, when I confess myself to have been entirely deceived in Miss Bingley's regard for me. But, my dear sister, though the event has proved you right, do not think me obstinate if I shall assert that, considering what her behaviour was, my confidence was as natural as your suspicion. I do not at all comprehend her reason for wishing to be intimate with me, but if the same circumstances were to happen again, I am sure I should be deceived again. Caroline did not return my visit till yesterday, and not a note, not a line did I receive in the meantime. When she did come, it was very evident that she had no pleasure in it. She made a formal apology for not calling before, said not a word of wishing to see me again, and was, in every aspect, so altered a creature that when she went away, I was perfectly resolved to continue the acquaintance no longer. I pity, though I cannot help blaming her. She was very wrong in singling me out as she did. I cannot safely say that every advance to intimacy began on her side, but I pity her, because she must feel that she has been acting wrong, and because I am very sure that anxiety for her brother is the cause of it. I need not explain myself farther. And though we know this anxiety to be quite needless, yet if she feels it, it will easily account for her behaviour, to me, and so deservedly dear as he to his sister. Whatever anxiety she may feel on his behalf is natural and amiable. I cannot but wonder, however, at her having any such fears now, because if he had at all cared about me, we must have met long, long ago, and he knows of my being in town, I am certain, from something she said herself, and yet it would seem, by her manner of talking, as if she wanted to persuade herself that he is really partial to Miss Darcy. I cannot understand it. If I were not afraid of judging harshly, I should be almost tempted to say that there is a strong appearance of duplicity in all of this. I will endeavour to banish every painful thought, and think only of what will make me happy. Your affection and the invariable kindness of my dear uncle and aunt. Let me hear from you very soon. Miss Bingley said something of his never returning to Netherfield again, of giving up the house, but not with any certainty. We had better not mention it. I am extremely glad that you have such pleasant accounts from your friends at Hunsford. Pray go see them, with Sir William and Maria. I am sure you will be very comfortable there. Yours, etc. Aww. It's almost sad to see Jane's bubble pop a little bit there. At least she knows that Mrs. Bingley is an absolutely, Miss Bingley is absolute full of shit. Sad. So you're going to say Fortnite so many times that you might actually appear in the game. And then we're going to have people coming over to your channel and say, hey, it's the Fortnite lady. Nah. I never signed myself to appear in the game. It would be really weird to appear in a game I've literally never played. This letter gave Elizabeth some pain, but her spirits returned as she considered that Jane would no longer be duped, by the sister at least. All expectation from the brother was now absolutely over. She would not even wish for any renewal of his attentions. His character sunk on every review of it, and, as a punishment for him, as well as a possible advantage to Jane, she seriously hoped he might really soon marry Mr. Darcy's sister, as, by Wickham's account, she would make him abundantly regret what he had thrown away. Well, according to this guy I know, the sister's a bitch. Mrs. Gardiner, about this time, reminded Elizabeth of her promise concerning that gentleman and required information, and Elizabeth had such to send as might rather give contentment to her aunt than to herself. His apparent partiality had subsided. His attentions were over. He was the admirer of someone else. Elizabeth was watchful enough to see it all, but she could see it and write of it without material pain. Her heart had been slightly touched, and her vanity was satisfied with believing that she would have been his only choice, had fortune permitted it. The sudden acquisition of £10,000 was the most remarkable charm of the young lady to whom he was now rendering himself agreeable. But Elizabeth, less clear-sighted perhaps, was, in this case, than in Charlotte's, did not quarrel with him for his wish of independence. Nothing, on the contrary, could be more natural, and, while able to suppose that it cost him a few struggles to relinquish her, She was ready to allow it a wise and desirable measure of both, and could very sincerely wish him happy. Oh, Mr. Wickham! What a gold digger, bro. Suddenly, some other girl comes into fortune. He's like, hello, money. I mean, mama. I mean, new wife. All this was acknowledged to Mrs. Gardiner, and after relating these circumstances, she thus went on. I am now convinced, my dear aunt, that I have never been much in love, for had I really experienced that pure and elevating passion, I should at present detest his very name, and wish him all manner of evil. But my feelings are not only cordial towards him, they are even impartial towards Miss King. I cannot find out that I hate her at all, or that I am in the least unwilling to think her a very good sort of girl. There can be no love in all this. My watchfulness has been effectual, and though I should certainly be a more interesting object to all my acquaintances, were I distractedly in love with him, I cannot say that I regret my comparative insignificance. Importance may sometimes be purchased too dearly. Kitty and Lydia take his defection much more to heart than I do. They are young in the ways of the world, and not yet open to the mortifying conviction that handsome young men must have something to live on, as well as the plain. Hello, money, Bryony, when she gets a millionaire fan. when I get a whale. The VTuber equivalent of a whale. That would be lovely. Hello, money. Children! Oh no, not children. With no greater events than these in the Longbourn family, and otherwise diversified by little beyond walks to Meryton, sometimes dirty and sometimes cold, did January and February pass away. Oil Baron Doko. March was to take Elizabeth to Hunsford. She had not, at first, thought very seriously of going hither, but Charlotte, she soon found, was depending on the plan, and she gradually learned to consider it herself with greater pleasure as well as greater certainty. Absence had increased her desire of seeing Charlotte again, and weakened her disgust of Mr. Collins. There was novelty in the scheme, and as, with such a mother and such an uncompanionable sisters, home could not be faultless. A little change was not unwelcome for its own sake. The journey would, moreover, give her a peep at Jane, and in sort, as the time drew nearer, she would have been very sorry for the delay. Everything, however, went on smoothly, and was finally settled according to Charlotte's first sketch. She was to accompany Sir William and his second daughter. The improvement of spending a night in London was added in the time, and the plan became as perfect as a plan could be. I bet you'd go silent for half a second and then go, so anyway, back to reading, if someone dropped 5k on you for whatever reason. I don't know. That's one of those situations where I honestly don't know if I can imagine what my realistic reaction would be. 8 million lottery winning interview. What will I spend my lottery winnings on? VTubers and flight sims? I mean, that's the life, really. What more do you need? Maybe some food. Maybe pay off the house or whatever. But VTubers and flight sims. The only pain was in leaving her father, who would certainly miss her, and who, when it came to the point, so little liked her going that he told her to write to him and almost promised to answer her letter. Almost promised to answer the letter. Please write to me, daughter. I may respond. Guess I gotta put that reaction to the test one day. Exactly. I honestly don't know how I would react. I think we've discussed this before. A part of me wouldn't believe it's real and would assume it's some kind of scam or trick. Because, I don't know, that much money in one drop, you'd just be like, what the fuck? I don't know. It'd be weird. The farewell between herself and Mr. Wickham was perfectly friendly, on his side even more. His present pursuit could not make him forget that Elizabeth had been the first to excite and to deserve his attention, the first to listen and pity, the first to be admired, and in his manner of bidding her adieu, wishing her every enjoyment and reminding her of what she was to expect in Lady Catherine de Bourgh, and trusting her their opinion of her, their opinion of everybody, would always coincide. There was a solicitude, an interest, which she felt must ever attach her to him, with a most sincere regard, and she parted from him convinced that whether marriage or single, he must always be her model of the admirable and pleasing. So basically, she found her bro. Mr. Wickham became her bro rather than her romantic interest. Her fellow travellers the next day were not of a kind to make her think him less agreeable. Sir William Lucas and his daughter Maria, a good-humoured girl, but as empty-headed as himself, had nothing to say that could be worth hearing. Wow, that's rude. 1 second. Wow. And were listened to with about as much delight as a rattle of the chassis. Oh my god. Oh, no. 1 second. Gotta deal with some shit in the Twitch chat. There we go. Perfect. Anyway. Elizabeth loved absurdities, but she had known Sir William too long. He could tell her nothing new of the wonders of his presentation and knighthood, and his civilities were worn out, just like his information. In a journey of only 24 miles, and they began it so early as to be in Gracechurch Street by noon. As they drove to Mr. Garland's door, Jane was at a drawing-room window, watching their arrival. When they entered the passage, she was there to welcome them, and Elizabeth, looking earnestly in her face, was pleased to see it healthful and lovely as ever. On the stairs were a troop of little boys and girls, whose earnestness for their cousin's appearance would not allow them to wait in the drawing-room, and whose shyness, as they had not seen her for a 12-month, prevented their coming lower. Oh, okay. The children looked a little bit scary in the picture, but they are described a lot cuter. All was joy and kindness. The day passed most pleasantly away, the morning in bustle and shopping, and the evening at one of the theatres. Elizabeth then contrived to sit by her aunt. Their first subject was her sister, and she was more grieved than astonished to hear, in reply to her minute inquiries, that Jane always struggled to support her spirits. There were periods of dejection. It was reasonable, however, to hope that they were not continue long. Mrs. Gardiner gave her the particulars also of Miss Bingley's visit in Gracechurch Street, and repeated conversations occurring at different times between Jane and herself, which proved that the former had, from her heart, given up the acquaintance. Aw, poor Jane. Poor Jane, bro. She liked Mr. Bingley so much. Mrs. Gardiner then rallied her niece on Wickham's desertion, and complimented her on bearing it so well. "But, my dear Elizabeth," she added, "what sort of girl is Miss King? I should be sorry to think of our friend Mercenary." "Pray, my dear aunt, that is the difference in matrimonial affairs between the mercenary and the prudent motive. Where does discretion end and avarice begin? Last Christmas you were afraid of his marrying me because it would be imprudent, and now, because he is trying to get a girl with only £10,000, you want to find out that he is mercenary? If you will only tell me what sort of girl Miss King is, I shall know what to think. She is a very good kind of girl, I believe. I know no harm of her. But he paid her not the smallest attention till her grandfather's death made her mistress of his fortune. No, why should he? If he were not allowable for him to gain my affections because I had no money, what occasion could there be for making love to a girl whom he did not care about, and who was equally poor? But there seems indelicacy in directing his attentions towards her so soon after this event. A man in distressed circumstances has not the time for all those elegant decorums which other people may observe. If she does not object to it, then why should we? Her not objecting it does not justify him. It only shows her being deficient in something herself, sense or feeling. "Well," cried Elizabeth, "have it as you choose. He shall be mercenary, and she shall be foolish." "No, Lizzie, that is what I do not choose. I should be sorry, you know, to think ill of a young man who has lived so long in Derbyshire." "Oh, if that is all, I shall be very poor opinion of young men who live in Derbyshire, and their innate friends who live in Hertfordshire are not much better. I am sick of them all. Thank heavens I am going tomorrow, where I shall find a man who has not one agreeable quality, who has neither manners nor sense to recommend him. Stupid men are the only ones worth knowing, after all." "Take care, Lizzie, that speech savours strongly of disappointment." God damn. I love Lizzie. She's so sassy. Before they were separated by the conclusion of play, she had the unexpected happiness of an invitation to accompany her uncle and aunt in a tour of pleasure which they proposed taking in the summer. Would you like the translation of what they were just saying there? Basically, what they were discussing is when they say mercenary, they're calling Mr. Wickham a gold digger, basically. And basically, Lizzie's going, "Well, you're being kind of hypocritical here, dear auntie. You warned me against him because I had no money and he had no money. Now you're accusing him of being a gold digger for going for someone who now has money. Maybe it's better I go for stupid men because they won't be as gold diggery, because they won't be thinking. Stupid men are the best." That's kind of how it went. Because he ain't messing with no broke maidens. And honestly, in the day and age that this is written, like, money was half the reason to marry. Love was a secondary. There were very few who had the privilege of marrying for love back then. She's bringing the heat and taking no prisoners. She really do. And then, take care, dear Lizzie. That speech savours strongly of disappointment. It's basically her telling her aunt telling her, like, that mouth of yours is probably going to get you in trouble. And it probably is. Or it's going to snag Mr. Darcy. Who knows? Who knows? Before they were separated by the conclusion of the play, she had the unexpected happiness of an invitation to accompany her uncle and aunt in a tour of pleasure which they had proposed taking in the summer. "We have not quite determined how far it shall carry us," said Mrs. Gardiner, "but perhaps to the lakes." I can be perceived as stupid, though pretty much everyone in my local and online environment doesn't take me seriously as they should. Fair. I do feel very seen by the stupid men are worth knowing line. I think it's like... No, I'm not going to say anything I was going to say. I can say it if I liken it to myself, because I have said to my boyfriend, my fiance, many a time, that he's more on sexual because he likes me, and I'm not that smart sometimes. So, you know what? Not smart people, maybe stupid people, are usually pretty earnest. So, that's a good thing. No scheme could have been more agreeable to Elizabeth, and her acceptance of the invitation was most ready and grateful. "My dear, dear aunt," she rapturously cried, "what delight, what felicity! You give me fresh life and vigour. Adieu to disappointment and spleen." Adieu to disappointment and spleen. What is that? What are men to rocks and mountains? Oh, what are men to rocks and mountains? Bitch, take me to the pretty scenes. I don't need any man. I don't need no man. I just need the Lake District. Oh, what hours of transport we shall spend! And when we do return, it shall not be like other travellers, without being able to give one accurate idea of anything. We will know where we have gone. We will recollect what we have seen. Lakes, mountains, and rivers shall not be jumbled together in our imaginations, nor when we attempt to describe any particular scene. We will begin quarrelling about its relative situation. Let our first effusions be less unsupportable than those of the generality of travellers. Bitch, the Lake District. I assume that's what they mean by the lakes, going up north, Lake District sort of way. It's nearly... I should probably stop for today, you know, because we've just hit past the 2-hour mark, actually. So, that will be all for today. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you, anyone in chat. Thank you, anyone who lurked. And thank you to anyone who watches the VOD. I really appreciate you supporting, no matter how you decide to support. No matter which way you enjoy my content. I hope you had a good time. If you have not already, if you're on YouTube, I would highly appreciate it if you could leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, because we are 18 subs away from 5k. How bonkers is that? 18 subs. 18 subs. 1-8. We're in the teens. It's a teeny tiny way to go. Crazy. And if you're on Twitch, I'd appreciate a follow. That would be lovely too. We did get to 90 followers today, which is crazy. We're only 10 off 100 over there. Look at all these milestones. Crazy. Things have been wild recently. So many numbers. Numbers go up. And if you would like to, when we hit 5k, we're gonna do a 3D karaoke and a subathon. So if you're saving for that, that's fair. But if you would like to help me with probably what's going to end up being future wedding funds, there are many ways to do that. You can join YouTube membership, where you can get emotes, exclusive streams, a Discord channel, and merch discounts. There is the Patreon, where you can get short stories, exclusive streams, merch discounts, and free books. When you hit 5k, you're going to get married. No. If I get subs this week, like I have last week, I will hit 5k next week. That is not enough time to plan a wedding. More merch on 5k. I do not have any new merch planned. You also haven't bought the other merch void, so why would I give you more merch when you haven't bought the recent merch yet? Yeah, no new merch on 5k. I haven't got anything planned. The Patreon, where you can get short stories, exclusive streams, merch discounts, and free books. There is the Kofi, where you can subscribe. I don't know, we don't really have anything specific for that. There is some stuff in the Kofi store, where there's some short audiobook, short story-esque things in there. And finally, there is the merch store, where you can get ebooks, first edition copies, books I have written, bookmarks, earrings, t-shirts, a notebook, a pillow, and stickers. Emote stickers, to be exact. If you get a Patreon at $15, you get a free signed book on the second month. Yes, you do! Signed by the author. Mwah! Sent to your address. International is fine. As long as I have an address, I can send it. It's all good. But that is all I have for you today. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll be doing some more game development tomorrow. Hopefully we'll get a few more endings in. That would be lovely. And then Tuesday Ruiner. There's Friday. We'll probably finish Stray Gods next week. So that'll be fun. I need to think of something to do for the rest of things. I don't think Stray Gods is gonna fill a whole stream. So we'll need to think of something else to do for the rest of Friday's stream. But that's later me problems. Current me problems is going to sweep. Shonny night, everybody. I had fun. I hope you had fun. Game deving. I thought you'd be doing Minecraft this month. I did put a message in the Minecraft part of Discord recently saying that I am going to delay Minecraft by 1 week. That is mainly because I don't have as many slots open. Also, the game dev streams are doing incredibly well, so I don't really want to move them, so we're probably going to be moving Minecraft. Congrats again, thank you. But yes, I had fun. I hope you had fun. This has been Brand New Smith, Life in the Forbidden Library. Goodbye.